Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is BGFH and I am back for another E3 2017 video. And this time I'm going to talk a little bit about the Bethesda showcase and the PC gaming show. I've watched two more press conferences, I guess, and there are still two more to go, so I think at either some point tomorrow or Wednesday, depending on how I decide to release the videos, we're probably looking at Ubisoft and Nintendo being the final E3 video, kind of do an overall wrap-up thoughts included in that one. This, for the background of this video, we are going to be going a little hardcore. We've got, and it's fitting based on a little bit of what I'm going to talk about in this video. We're going to be looking at a brutalization of a game. I've covered Brutal Doom before on the channel. I've got a couple other things coming up, but we are looking at Brutal Wolfenstein 3D. Yes, they have converted the original Wolfenstein 3D into the Doom engine. It's basically the same way that we used, the way that we did Brutal Doom, and it's freaking great. I will have a low vision spotlight for this particular game fairly soon, I would think. So if you want to know more about the specifics of the game, you can kind of hear me talk about that later. But we are just gonna, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go into, let's say episode 4, and we're gonna go here to a hard difficulty. We're just gonna turn God mode on, and we are gonna kill some Nazis. Here we go. Boom. All right. There we go. So I want to talk a little bit about the press conferences. Bethesda last night, which was actually really short, a little over a half an hour. And there wasn't a lot to it. I mean, and there wasn't really a lot that that other than, not much out of what I expected. There weren't really many surprises. Actually, I want to go this other way first. So Bethesda, like the last couple of years, they've had huge things. They've had Doom. They've had they talked a little bit about Quake Champions, but they had Fallout 4, really anticipated games. I've played both of them, and they are pretty darn great. So we looked at those. But this year, it was kind of underwhelming, I think. There were a couple in there that were really good. Okay, we're going to go in there in a bit, but we're going to go back this way and do the other one. So it was kind of weird. The whole presentation style of Bethesda was really just kind of awkward. They did this they started with a video of these, what is your mom? You think of, what was it, Kindergarten Cop? Who is your daddy and what does he do? The parent, bunch of little kids and their parents saying, what do they do? And then the people saying, I'm an artist, I make a shooter, I make blah, blah, blah. And, hey, our games are getting to be done, and then we're going to show you what we're going to do. So, I mean, I see how they tied in, but it was kind of, And then the rest of the presentation had, you had the head of Bethesda talking a couple of times, but largely it was actually kind of reminded me of this, 1950s, kind of like Fallout-esque, how they present the Fallout flashbacks and or not flashbacks, but tutorials and kind of cheeky, like I said, something you'd find kind of in 1950s TV. So they had the whole presentation style kind of like that, welcome to Bethesda land, and we're going to talk about some stuff. And I kind of wonder if, the reason that they did that is because they knew they didn't have quite as much to show this year. So they kind of padded it out with a little bit of presentation style, which, I mean, some people might have liked. I thought it was kind of dumb. Didn't super care for it. But, it was okay. So really I think the key things to come out of the Bethesda conference, so they talked a little bit about Some stuff that I wasn't super interested in. You know, you have the Elder Scrolls Online, you know, kind of MMORPG kind of a thing. I've just never been into that kind of game, largely due to the way the gameplay is. You know, I like, you know, more real action, and I haven't, granted, I haven't really played Elder Scrolls Online, so I can't safely say, if the combat is any better. But I just don't really like, you know, the cooldown times and kind of jank combat system. I know that's not what MMOs are specifically about, but I just still, whatever. But they're doing a new expansion for that, the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind, which is calling back to the... Oh, when did that come out? Like 2000? The Elder Scrolls Morrowind. I wanted to really get into Morrowind, but a friend of mine had it, and the thing that I had a problem with as far as Morrowind goes is the fact that, like, there was a lot of reading in that game, like, to get quests, and, like, it was just tons of small text. So, like, you had all of these... Oh, man, I'm already lost. I'm not paying attention, and... Okay, whatever. But there was a lot of text, and the gameplay looked cool, but I figured I was just going to struggle too much with trying to read things. So I kind of passed. But then when they started adding, you know, full voice to Oblivion and Skyrim, then I was sold. Like, I fell so hard for Oblivion. I haven't finished Skyrim yet. I kind of barely got into it. I got a few hours in, but a few hours in that game is like nothing, you know? So yeah, if you're into the online RPGs, MMOs, they got that expansion coming out pretty soon. Then they have their, I don't even remember what it's called, Elder Scrolls Legends or something like that. Their card game. And again, that's one of those that I might be more open to these card games if, A, they weren't quite as... A lot of them are kind of, you know, money hungry. They're like, oh yeah, you got to buy all these decks, and you get random chances. Like, is this card that I'm going to get, or is this deck that I'm going to get, is it going to be any good, or all those types of things. But then, as a low vision user, the other problem that I have is just being able to see and read the cards, and if I got to manage a deck, like, I don't want to be hunched over trying to squint and read all the character attributes and stats and things like that. So card battler genres, unless you get like a, you know, maybe an accessible one on iOS, God forbid somebody tries to put an accessible API into one of those, I might give it a shot, you know? I might give it a shot, but for now, not too interested, just because it's going to be more of a chore for me to try to play it. But yeah, collectible card games. Now they did do a couple of VR titles, which I'm actually kind of interested in. Here's the problem. If you have followed VR for any length of time, you know that Oculus and Bethesda, or more specifically id Software, you know, John Carmack, of course, one of the founders of id Software, he got into some stuff with Oculus, and so they really had a falling out a couple years ago, and the two games that they announced, I think, unless some weird, strange miracle happens, this stuff is not going to come to the Oculus Rift. It's only going to be on HTC Vive because of that whole falling out. So they did this Doom VFR. I'm not sure, but yeah, the Doom VFR, which seems to be kind of like this, again, your typical VR sort of thing. You're teleporting, and it's kind of like a teleporting shooting gallery, which there's like 18,000 of those. That's what largely VR is. I know I could go through that door at the end of the level, but I would just want to cruise through this. Normally in the original game you couldn't blow these pillars down, that's why, but I was just going through there to do that. So talk more about that in the other video. But Doom VFR, that looks pretty cool. I would love to try it, especially if they had like a advanced free roam movement kind of a thing. But here's the problem. I don't think I'm going to be able to play it unless there's some sort of Oculus hack where I can try it. Now the other interesting one is Fallout 4, which I've covered on the channel before. Played the crap out of that for a good 2-3 months a couple of years ago. That was a 2015 game. Well, they're bringing that whole shebang into VR, so you're actually going to be able to play, sounds like, the whole campaign in VR, where the gameplay itself, I think, could be really cool. Here's what I'm really curious about as far as what I'm really kind of skeptical about is being able to read. A lot of time in that game, you have to spend a lot of time reading the Pip-Boy, your little handheld computer, and depending on how that's implemented in the interface, would I be able to read that as a low vision gamer? Because I'm comparing weapon stats and checking ammo quantity and building and constructing weapons or modifying weapons. There's a lot of textual things that you have to do outside of the combat. Reading the map on the Pip-Boy, all that non-gameplay stuff, or the textual stuff, is where I'm going to have a heck of a problem. Problem is, I don't know that I'm actually going to be able to find that out. Damn. Because, again, it doesn't sound like that's going to be coming to the Rift. Which really sucks, because those are really high-profile games. And if, again, I've said this before, in virtual reality, this is a really young medium. It's an expensive enthusiast medium right now, so you really gotta want to be able to play, to be able to, to really get into it right now. And platform exclusivity, be it Oculus or Vive, I don't really like that, because you're going to have a small market as it is, even if you have it on all of your headsets. So I don't know where they're going to go with that. They only showed the Vive, which, again, doesn't surprise me. But there you go. So Fallout 4 and Doom VFR. Talked about a lot of the card collector games. Talked about the Elder Scrolls. Now Bethesda's also doing kind of a thing where on the consoles and stuff for the Skyrim remastered and Fallout 4, they have this what they call it, Bethesda Creators Program or something. Basically, it sounds like, instead of being as open for mods, like with the mods, you have the potential, especially on PC, of people just making mods that don't play well together, or they really jack up your game. It's like, oh crap, now my game crashes when I put this mod in or whatever. So it's kind of going to be a little bit more like a curated sort of system. But it sounds like you're going to use some kind of virtual currency or something equating to, I don't know, real world money or in-game. I don't know how that's going to work, but you're going to have all this these curated content, but it's, I think it's going to be some sort of paid thing, which I'm, again, I don't really care about, because I have it on PC. I've beaten Fallout 4, unless there's some really, really miraculous mod that I haven't played that I really want to. I don't know that, I have so much other stuff to play. I would love to get back into Skyrim, since I haven't gotten too far into that, but when I'll have time to sink into something like that, God only frickin' knows. So yeah, but there's that. Trying to remember if there's anything else before I talk about the last Bethesda thing that I thought was really cool. Like I said, it was short, so if I miss anything, whatever. It's not meant to be. I'm just talking about the things that really stood out for me. So then they went, I'm going to talk about the main thing for that I'm interested in, one of the coolest things at Bethesda. So Wolfenstein, I've covered the New Order and the Old Blood kind of standalone expansion on the channel before. Really cool games. I like what they did to revive that series. Well, later this year, everything in the Bethesda conference, by the way, they said is coming out this year. So we're getting Wolfenstein 2, an official sequel. Now, this time it was overseas before, but Wolfenstein 2, they're basically trying to take back America from the Nazis. Because remember, this is like an alternate history where the Nazis won, and it was just all kinds of craziness. So the way they you almost just you really have to go watch this trailer or whatever the heck you want to call it, because it was just bizarre. It started out with this like old grainy like 1950s 60s TV show of like Lassie, where you had this girl coming home and carrying like a shopping bag, and like there was some stuff going on. And she's like, she calls, I forget what the name of this creature was, but, you know, it's like, oh, instead of like calling for Lassie, she calls for this giant mechanic monstrosity thing, robot dude. And it goes haywire, and she's like, no! It's just really, like, it's really bizarre. And then BJ Blazkowicz, you know, of course, our man right here we're playing right now, there's just... He was talking about like taking back America. There, you know, some general was like ordering something from a 50s malt shop diner thing. Somebody was something about a pregnant lady, and some other guy dropping acid. It was just, even after the thing, the head of Bethesda comes back and is like, remember when I told you a while ago that we were working on something that's kind of fucked? Yeah, well, a guy dropping acid while blah, 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 and yeah, it was kind of fucked. It just really had this really surreal thing that I don't quite know how to process, but I am definitely interested in that. It almost seems like he's got some sort of, like, mech suit thing, or some sort of like protection, like I don't know what the hell you would call this. Like, is it like an exosuit or something for part of it? But I mean, and then they showed some gameplay of like a lot of it was just amped up over the top, like dual wielding everything and just bullets flying everywhere. It's just going to be more dumb fun, and I think it's going to be great. So yeah, Wolfenstein 2. Out later this year. I want to say in like October, if I remember correctly. That was pretty much Bethesda in a nutshell. Again, I may have missed one or two things, but honestly, like I said, I was kind of underwhelmed overall. I mean, the Wolfenstein thing kind of made up for it, because that was just, yeah, that's what he said. It was fucking bananas. That was his exact wording. And I couldn't agree more, but it was really amusing. So... And like I said, it was like maybe 40 minutes long tops, so it was surprisingly short. Oh, what the hell oh, I didn't know I could break that. Hey, I've never been back here before. Let's, yeah. Whoa, what the hell? Oh, kick ass. I can get a frickin' axe? What? What? I didn't know you could even do... Oh, that's cool. I'm going to chop some dudes up. I'm going to chop up some Nazis here. I forgot all about this. Yeah, there's a lot of new weapons in this game. So, Bethesda. Then you have the PC gaming show. To me, this has always been kind of a mixed bag. Like, the presentation style has just always felt a little bit off. It's felt a little bit more like cheesy as far as like being corporate, you know, like, oh, we're sponsored by this thing and we're going to talk about this stuff because they sponsored us and ha ha ha, we're cool. This year, if you're a certain type of gamer, I think you had a lot to like here. you know, because they focus a lot more on, there really wasn't, I don't even remember, there might have been like one shooter mentioned, or just a couple games that I was interested in, but I'm having even trouble, having just watched it. Literally, I finished the PC Gaming Show right before starting to record this. I can't even remember all the stuff that I saw. It just wasn't all that memorable to me. You know, they started out, they had a lot of things like Mountain Blade 2, which is a game that I thought might be kind of cool, but there's so much stuff going on, and there was a lot of small text in the first game. You know, really open battlefields, just a little bit too big for my tastes. Wasn't too much into that. Then they had this BattleTech game, which mechs are cool, but it was this turn-based strategy game, kind of, you know, they're taking like the early board game, and I think they're doing a cool job of translating that to the PC, but I'm just not really feeling the turn-based strategy aspects of it. So those types of games, it's just, I'm not saying that they're bad, but I just wasn't super interested in them. The one game that I was pretty darn interested in is they had a Killing Floor 2 is a game. I think I covered like a beta, or I know I covered it on some form on the channel. They had it either as like a free trial or maybe it was an early access at the time. I don't remember. I don't own the official full game yet, but I kind of want to. They had a trailer for this. They're doing these, I guess in the first game, you know, they had these, you know, timed events, you know, like, oh, holiday or, you know, seasonal event things going on. And they have this summer carnival thing, which you can actually start to play starting tomorrow for free. And for like, is it 2 months long? But it's this all kinds of really messed up dark carnival. They got this like carnival announcer in the trailer. He's talking about and stuff, and he's just like getting more and more freaked out as as he goes on. There's like, oh my God, that's disgusting. Why is that guy on fire? Why does Why does that guy have a chainsaw? I mean, it was just, it was actually pretty damn funny. And I'm going to have to try to check that out. And now I didn't buy Killing Floor 2 because I'm thinking hopefully maybe along with this there'll be a sale for Killing Floor to incentivize a purchase. And if not, I'm hoping that maybe, I know the Steam sale is coming up here literally within the summer sale, oh dear God, is coming up in a couple of weeks, theoretically. So if anything, I'm guessing at some point that game is going to be at least somewhat on sale. Okay, I still don't have a key. Okay. Interesting. Okay, I gotta find another key. So yeah, Killing Floor 2, that looked pretty good. Trying to remember what else they had. They talked about some Microsoft stuff, some Forza, you know, kind of stuff that they talked about last night, you know, Forza and Sea of Thieves, you know, oh, what are you doing differently for the PC, that kind of a thing. Okay, I'm not sure. I've been just talking and I don't recall. I thought I grabbed all my keys, but I must have missed it. Let's look again. But yeah, they talk about that game that kind of looks like Advance Wars or Fire Emblem kind of a thing from the makers of Stardew Valley. Now, I love me some Stardew Valley. I got hooked on that real bad over the last... I kind of fell out of it for a while just because I had to move on, but like, you know, I covered that on the channel at least once or twice. I think I used it as a backdrop for another type of video. Here we go. And, but yeah, they're making, I'm not too interested in their new game just because, again, I'm not really interested in the whole turn-based thing. There's a key I needed. But if you're into that, that looked really cool. I mean, it looks 16-bit, or 8, yeah, I would say more kind of a combination of 8, 16-bit kind of a thing. But yeah, I mean, if you like those kind of games, I think you're really going to like that. I think they're hitting that kind of old school, you know, console aesthetic quite well and bringing it to multiple platforms like on the PC and consoles and I think even Stardew Valley is coming to the Switch pretty soon. So yeah, that was really cool. They ended with Age of Empires. They're actually remaking the original game, but adding some future, like some modern mechanics and things into the game. Now, I did play a little bit of Age of Empires back in the day, more so Age of Empires 2, because that was the thing. One of my friends in college, he was really into, him and a couple of his friends were really into the Age of Empires games, and I was never really good at them. I mean, the closest thing I got to a real-time strategy game was Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2, which I still think are really cool. And other than that god-awful travesty that came out on mobile a few years ago, I wish that would be a franchise that could make a nice comeback. There is another one on the PC, like a spiritual successor, like some fans made, like I think it's called War for the Underworld, which I really should check out at some point. But back to Age of Empires, so they've added, they've cleaned up the graphics, totally redone them all, the audio, it's all orchestrated. Of course, new gameplay, that kind of a thing. One of the things in the first Age of Empires that I remember hating is that they didn't have like an idle worker, especially if you can't see the screen very well. There's just all these small icons and workers and stuff, and it was hard to tell where you had an idle worker. So I always used to call it the slacker button. So you got your villagers harvesting a field or planting something or building a structure. Well, then they're done building. I didn't know that, and I couldn't see, I didn't know that, so they were just kind of working idly, and I wasn't using my full resources. So Age of Empires 2 and most other RTS games like that, they've taken care of that. So again, that's coming out later this year, so if you're into RTS games, you want to play some more kind of a throwback, you might be really into that. A couple of other little indie games that I can't remember right off the top of my head. Again, I apologize. I was kind of underwhelmed again for the PC gaming show. There was a lot of talking. They had a couple trailers, and a lot of them were like, again, one of the problems that I have with a lot of these trailers, be it for consoles or PC, whatever, the problem is they show this, like, okay, it might be in-engine, but it's all like pre-render, like it's not actual gameplay. So you're just seeing like cinematics and stuff, which I don't really like. I mean, when I want to be interested in a game, have a little clip of that, but have a good chunk of that trailer devoted to actual gameplay. Because I forget which ones, but there was 1 or 2 games for sure in the last couple days that I saw that they had... I saw the trailer, but I wasn't sure what the heck the game was. Like, how did it play? Because all they did is show cinematics and story. So yeah, PC gaming show. But there was a lot of talking, a little bit of footage here and there. Some of it we'd saw at Microsoft. But, XCOM 2, there's an expansion pack for that. That's another one of those I really wish I could get into. I really wish I could like it. But I'm just not heavily into that kind of gameplay. So again, XCOM 2, if you love that game, there is an expansion coming out pretty darn soon for that. I want to say within the next couple of months. And, oh wait, it was up that elevator. That's right. I was like, well, how do I get out of here? Elevator, elevator. Here we go. Because I just wanted to keep on this level, like, even though I could have exited earlier. But yeah, that is the PC gaming show. I'm sure I've missed 1 or 2 things. Trying to remember if I missed any other major thing. I would say those are what stood out for me. Again, this isn't meant to be more like a complete comprehensive thing. These are things that I could potentially be interested in, might cover on the channel, or what I found to be really interesting in myself. There's a gazillion sites that'll do, analyze every little thing. These are just kind of off the top of my head, some of the things that I found to be kind of neat. Really looking forward to Wolfenstein. Those have always been good. Oh, Quake Champions, of course. Duh, why didn't I talk about that? I have some mixed feelings on that. I love Quake 3 Arena to death. I have not played it on the channel simply because there's not a whole lot of people playing it right now. And the people who are, I remember trying it a couple years ago and just completely and utterly got my ass kicked because the only people left playing that game are people who have just not stopped playing since that came out in like 1999. And so, whew, yeah, I just got destroyed. And I'm hoping they have some sort of better matchmaking or like some sort of competitive thing that's like, okay, maybe there'll be more interest again since it's a new game, and then there'll be a wider group of people that'll be playing, and it could be fun again. But whew, you know, you play any of those old games that I used to play, even Quake Live. I tried that, and that still didn't even fare so well because that was largely based off of Quake 3 Arena. So, you know, when I think of Quake, I think of like everybody starts out with the same weapon. There are items and weapons and power-ups like quad damage and all that kind of thing in the environment itself, and it's just this crazy learning the map, cruising around like a madman, just shooting everybody, and it's just fun, it's chaos, it's great. With the champions, you know, you have these unique characters, which you had unique characters in Quake 3, but the thing was is they were all just skins. They all played the same. The only ones that I remember being a little bit different is you had Orb, which he was this giant like weird eyeball on legs, and so he was a bit shorter than everybody else, but he was still really cool. Like I liked Orb. He was cool. But so now all these different champions in this new game, they have different, you know, different abilities. Like they have their own ability, and you can choose your starting weapon, which I think is kind of good because, you know, it's like you don't want to start with the pistol, or you don't want to start with some, you know, like the crappy machine gun. I know you can start with a machine gun or a shotgun. And you know my love of shotguns, so that'll probably be my weapon of choice. And then there's just all kinds of these. I know it's just the way that games are going right now, but does every single frickin' game, I don't care if it's a shooter, an action game, a card game, a puzzle game, does every single title need to have loot chests and unlocks and all these things that can potentially turn into microtransactions? And I mean, it's fine, whatever. If you're going to do just cosmetic things, I'm okay with that, I guess. But like, I just want to get a game out of the box, or the virtual box, as it were, because nothing comes in on hardware anymore. But I just want to own a game and not have to worry about bullshit grinding or endlessly dropping real money just to get something that I want. Like, I just want to play a game, and I'm just, ever since the mobile, you know, ever since games got pretty popular on mobile, and that was the way they did, you know, AAA developers and regular console PC game developers, they've gone back to doing that on their stuff, and it's gotten so old. I'm sorry, but it's just, not every game has to have that. I'm so sick of that. But, you know, that's coming out later this year, I think. I don't know. Supposedly you can get into the beta, or at least it's pretty easy to get into the beta. I might look into doing it. I don't know. We'll see what I get around to doing. See, well, I don't even know where the door is. Okay, that's where I started. I don't even remember. I know this map is meant to be confusing. All the doors and textures look all the same. But I think we're kind of wrapping up here because that's largely, you know, Wolfenstein looks great. I'm going to pick that up. Curious about Quake Champions. Killing Floor, I really do want to give that a shot because what little bit of it I played, there are some things I think that are going to be hard about it. Like the main thing that I'm worried about with Killing Floor is you defeat a wave and they only give you a really short set time frame to go to the store that's in a random place in the map and to be able to read everything in that store interface, get your upgrades, replenish your ammo. You know, can I see well enough to get that done quickly enough? But, you know, that game, it looks really fun and could be potentially something, especially as I'm kind of getting my mouse trigger finger back in, you know, playing this Brutal Wolfenstein. I've been hooked on this. I recorded the actual low vision spotlight for it a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I've just been, ever since, off and on, I've been playing the crap out of this. I love this game because, you know, like the old Wolfenstein, it was cool, but it just didn't control like a modern game. But this just feels, it plays the way you'd want it to. It's stupid fast. The gore, the speed, the weapons, everything is just cranked up to 11. It's awesome. It's a beautiful thing. And if I could find that door, I don't remember where. I don't remember where I'm supposed to go. I'm so lost. But you know what? That's fine because I think we are done with this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, and like I said, I think I'm going to have one more of these in me. We got Ubisoft here in about a half an hour as I'm recording this, and we have Sony too. I forgot all about Sony. Yeah, Sony and Nintendo. Although one thing I heard about Nintendo is that they're doing their Treehouse Live stuff all throughout E3, which is great. But they are also doing their little event kicking things off is only going to be like a half an hour long, and I think that a large part of that is going to be concentrated on Mario. Let's see what's over here again. On Mario Odyssey, which I'm very intrigued about. Yeah, I'm so freaking lost right now. I'm just going in circles, not paying any attention, just whatever. I think it's probably down one of those elevators, actually, and I don't want to deal with that. So, yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. We've got a couple of conferences to go, but yeah, I think we'll wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. And until the next one, I will talk to you guys again later.